So that's okay, but I asked her to kind of talk me through things, which I read that is okay to, like, ask, and she
Yeah.
kinda laughed at me and was like, "I can't talk you through it, I'm doing surgery." I was like, "Oh, okay," and I felt kinda dumb, I was like, "Okay," but I don't know, I just kinda felt more comfortable because you can't see anything going on, and
Right.
then I was like, "Okay," and I don't remember if I asked about the skin to skin or I just assumed that it would happen, but they took him away, and then maybe I was like maybe that had to do with the preeclampsia that, like, I couldn't have him on my chest right away, something must have been going on. But
Yeah.
my husband, Steve, he had him on his chest, so that was nice. Um,
Oh, I
so
mean, at
that
least
yeah,
he got that. I mean, you wanna be
I
that too.
know. So jealous, but yeah, and then right after, like you said, like, right after birth, I was, like, so out of it, and I don't know if it's when you're just have your C-section or if it's, like, the pain medicine, but I was, like, shivering a lot. Was that with you too? Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't know what
absolutely.
that
Say that's normal. I
yeah,
just was shaking uncontrollably, like, that's one
yeah.
thing I remember.
Yeah, and they just were trying to, like, get him to latch. They're like, "Do you wanna breastfeed? Okay." And then, like, tried to put him right on, and I was like, "Oh my god." Which is crazy too, like, all these things start or, like, happen, and there's no way you could have prepared yourself to breastfeed a child. Like, what?
Right.
It's so
Yeah,
strange. And full disclosure, it didn't work out for me. I'm a formula feeding mom, and, that is okay, but it
absolutely.
definitely was a little bit, heartbreaking when I couldn't do that. So I think that was another thing that impacted just my feeling of myself as a mom, but yeah, so there's tumultuous, I guess, is a good way to put, like, just pregnancy, labor, all of it is just so much. It's just
Yeah,
there's so much, like, there's no
and there's a
possible
lot.
way you could prepare.
Yeah, there's
So
a lot that goes into it.
mhm.
And I think
Yes.
that's the thing too, is like you can have this plan for like what you want to do like post
Mhm,
birth too. Like, like I knew I wanted to try and breastfeed and things like that.
mhm.
And it's crazy, like right when they did skin to skin, it's like it's the baby's intuition, like they know
Right.
like exactly what to do.
Crazy.
Like the second they put him on me, he was trying to latch. And I was like, oh my gosh, like
Yeah.
I'm like, he's amazing. Like, how did
Yeah.
he know how to do
Yeah.
that? And
It's a very strange thing, and nobody told I mean, maybe I'm not looking in the right places, but I didn't know what to expect that way either, like, I think it's called rooting, that they're like I'm showing you on video right now, nobody could see me, but, like, your face I'm putting my face into my palm and, like, nuzzling it kind of, that's kind of what he was doing, and he was trying to find it. They
yeah.
actually called him a piranha because
Yeah.
he would, like, go to bite, but he would never get it. So he was like a really lousy piranha, but he really liked to eat and was, like, trying. He had the
Yeah.
effort there. But, yeah, that's just something else, like and I think that also, like, going back to the whole, like, thing I wanna get across in these episodes talking about motherhood is just, 1, you don't have to know if you're ready, you don't have to be 100% ready, I don't think there is a ready to jump
Yeah.
into pregnancy and motherhood, but also, y there's no right way to do anything, there's no wrong way, like, with breastfeeding, I never knew how much how do I put this nicely? How opinionated people are about that. And I don't know why it, like, makes me emotional, but, like, the fact that I couldn't do it I mean, I do know why it makes me emotional, it's just natural to, like, feel that way. I really
Yeah.
wanted to breastfeed. In the long run, it was better for me to not because just a lot of factors, but it feels personal when you can't, and that's just one thing about motherhood, like, when you can't do a lot of things or when you feel like you feel like you're not handling situations like another mom might, or you feel like your stress is, like, higher, you can't deal as well as another mom, like, it all feels very personal, and, I don't know, are you breastfeeding? Did you breastfeed?
Yeah, luckily, I mean, and that was the other thing too, is like I went in with the mindset of like, if I can do this, I'm going to, but I told
Yeah,
myself to try
me
not
too.
to be discouraged if I couldn't. Um, but thankfully, that worked out for us. So I've been breastfeeding and
Good for you, that is a lot, that is quite an undertaking, nobody understands that either,
Yeah,
Breastfeeding is like a full-time job, at
it
least a
really
full-time job.
and it just like there's so many things that go along with it. Like it just makes you, like hungry and thirsty and it makes you tired and it's just there's a lot that goes into it, especially in the beginning, like when they're cluster feeding and I felt like for those first couple months, like that was all I was doing. But, I
Mhm,
was like, you know what, I need to be like, some days it's overwhelming, but I just told myself to just like be grateful that I can do this. And
mhm,
I'm happy that it worked out. So to this day, I'm still breastfeeding and I'm pumping and I was off of work for 4 months before I went back. So I was able to build up a stash and things
mhm.
like that before I went back. So it's just, and it's also a lot to maintain. Like even now, it's just like, I got to make sure I'm doing it enough at work. So like my
Yeah.
supplies, you know, I don't, lose that momentum and things like that. So it's a lot, but it's definitely it's worth it. It makes me feel like,
Mhm,
I am able to do this for him
mhm.
and things like that. But, you know, like I said,
Yeah.
there's some people out there that like can't, whether it's like the mother or the child, and there's
Mhm.
absolutely nothing wrong with formula feeding. And like
Yeah.
I think that would be like one thing I wish like I could say to people is because like if I wasn't able to, I would feel defeated, but
Mhm.
there's absolutely no shame in that whatsoever.
And even if you don't feel like trying to, it's a whole lifestyle change even more than it was just bringing a child into the world. Breastfeeding is hard, hard on the body, and it's hard to fit into your life. Like there's a lot of demand a lot of the time. And even if you have a lot, you produce a lot, I still can't imagine. I just can't imagine how you do this. Like my cousin did it for I don't even know 8 months or something. I don't know how she did it. I mean, it's just all the props to you. But if a mom doesn't want to even try, that's
Yeah,
totally fine. You're going to come across people who do not agree with us and think that breast is best and whatever. But I'm telling you,
yeah,
of a happy, chunky boy who will
yeah,
tell you he is fine with his formula. And
absolutely.
um, yeah, I wanted to ask you also about was going back to work always in the plan or
Yeah, it was.
mm,
I knew it was going to be tough. I just didn't expect it to be, I think, as tough as it was. So
oh.
I've been back for about a month now. Um, and just like, the couple weeks leading up to it, I just was like dreading it so much because,
Mhm,
I missed everybody at work. I missed my job. It was like leaving him. And I felt like I was, even that first week back, like, at the end of the day, like my husband would be like, how are you doing? How are you feeling? And I'm just like, I feel like I'm missing so much of his life because I was so used
mhm,
to those first 4 months being with him
mhm,
24/7 and like even watching him grow so much in those first 4 months. And like now I feel like
mhm,
I'm missing all this stuff. And I think that was just like the thing that I struggled with the most going back.
mhm,
Um, but it's definitely gotten easier, and the people that I work with are absolutely fantastic, and have like made it a great transition for me coming back. So I was grateful to at least have that. So it was easier. I don't know. Part of me, I went through a phase where I was like, you know what if I quit my job, and
mhm,
then like I like go to work again like once they go to school, and
mhm,
you kind of have like you think about all the different like routes that you can go, but prior to having a baby, I was like, oh, it's going to be fine. Like, I'll be able to go back to work, like, no problem.
mhm.
Like, I'll be able to balance both. And then, like, once they're here, it's just a totally different story. It's not as easy as
Oh,
I
yeah.
thought it would be. And,
Yeah, or the other way around. I'm sure a lot of moms, which myself, I can't help myself, like, I just want to have my own thing. I think some moms who go into it thinking, "I'll be fine," are, like, really sad to go back, but then some moms who are like, "I'm gonna be so sad," are just ready. So you really can't prepare for that either. Like, pretty
yeah,
much everything is up in the air, especially when hormones come into play and anything else that might be going on with your child if they're not perfectly healthy. Like my son, am very, very, very grateful that I work for myself and my husband is carrying the team these days that I can, be there and navigate everything he needs as well. But I think I do have that, like, I don't know if that's what you have, like this need to like have this thing to yourself, or if you just are working because you want to.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both for
Yeah.
me. Um, it is nice kind of like being, I guess to say like back into the world and like
Hmm.
socializing and things like that. But
Yeah.
half the time I'm like, I wish I was home with him. And like it
Yeah.
always ends up coming back to that. And like I'm remote 2 days a week. And even like when
Mm.
I'm home, I'm like, it feels weird not having him here
Mhm.
and things like that. So as nice as it is to kind of be back out there and socialize and, have some, I guess, normality to what life was
Mhm.
pre-baby, um,
Yeah.
you still just miss them constantly and,
Yeah.
feel that need to want to be with them all the time.
It's so hard, and all I see on TikTok and stuff is like, "How do you Americans go back to work, like, so early?" Like, it sounds awesome. You had 4 months. My husband had 3 months. Whenever I went into labor, it started, or he could have it, like, throughout the year, but he had to take it all at once. So,
Okay.
we were very, 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 very fortunate for that. I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine. But and this is all, like, obviously our experience. I understand, like, there's a lot of people who aren't as fortunate as us, and, I'll speak for both of us that we have a privilege to either be able to work or not work. So, I
Yeah.
mean, both ways. If you do have a job that can, that's there for you, that's also a privilege. So, anyways, I just like to mention that too. I don't wanna make anybody feel any type of way, but leaving your baby, not leaving them, but you know what I mean? Like, it just blows my mind too, because that is not normal, and they always compare it to dogs and stuff, like, you don't even take a puppy away at 8 weeks. It's
Yeah.
just it'll never click for me because we do this whole thing, have the baby, and then you're like, "Okay." Well, first of all, the mom, in my opinion, is kind of forgotten at that point. I kind of
Yeah.
feel like the mom isn't really at all, like, the
The
center of
equation.
attention anymore. Yeah. And then you're meant to go along with work. I mean, all the props to you for, doing that, and also recognizing that it's hard and acknowledging that it's hard, because I think a lot of people are afraid to also say that like they're not 100% like driven to go to work and you're fine and whatever. Everybody experiences it differently, and I think every year might be different for you. You might be like, "Oh, I'm really happy to be at work and he's socializing at daycare or wherever he goes," and everything can change, but that's just another thing you can't prepare for as well. And it's hard. I just don't understand how we're meant to do that, but
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
When I went to my like 6 week postpartum checkup, I brought my son with me and um my OBGYN, she was like, "Oh my gosh, you brought him." And she's like, "How's motherhood? Like, are you loving it?" And I was like, "Absolutely." Like, I was like, "I don't know how I'm supposed to leave him."
Mhm.
And she one thing she said really just like stuck with me. She was like, "I just can't I'll never understand how like in America we're expected to go back to work so soon.
Mhm.
Granted, like you get those 6 to 8 weeks of disability and then the paid family leave that you can either take all together or spread it throughout the year. And like
But
I took most
still.
of mine. Yeah, I
Mhm.
took most of mine right off the bat. My husband's kind of like spreading his out a bit, but she's like, I just think it's absolutely insane in America
Mhm.
how they make you go back to work so soon. And she was telling me that in Canada and in Europe, you get a year.
Yeah,
You get 1 year home with your child before you even have to think about going back to work. And
should be like that.
yeah, my jaw hit the floor. I was just like, I wish we like were fortunate enough to be able to have that. So I just like, I try and be grateful, for having those, even 4 months with him, I think is amazing. But, like I said earlier, I was so sad to go back because I felt like I was missing so much of his life. And I would have loved nothing more than to be home with him
Mhm.
for a year.
Yeah. A lot of it, when you compare it to other countries, is not up to par. Even just the safety of the mother, through pregnancy and labor is we mentioned that in one of the other episodes, how starkly different the statistics are.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think that also goes kind of ties into the whole purpose of the podcast and what I want everybody to get out of it is like